From translation, NIV New International Version, this 133 day of the year. Today we are reading passages 2 Chronicles 9-12, 2 Chronicles chapter 9, verses 1 to 31. When the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon and his relationship to the Lord, she came to test Solomon with hard questions. She arrived in Jerusalem with a very great caravan, with camels carrying spices, large quantities of gold and precious stones. When she came to Solomon, she talked with him about all that she had on her mind. Solomon answered all her questions. Nothing was too hard for the king to explain to her. When the Queen of Sheba saw all the wisdom of Solomon and the palace he had built, the food on his table, the seating of his officials, the attending servants in their robes, his cupbearers, and the burnt offerings he made at the temple of the Lord, she was overwhelmed. She said to the king, "The report I heard in my own country about your achievements and your wisdom is true. But I did not believe what they said until I came and saw it with my own eyes. Indeed, not even half the greatness of your wisdom was told me. You have far exceeded the report I heard. How happy your people must be. How happy your officials, who continually stand before you and hear your wisdom. Praise be to the Lord your God, who has delighted in you and placed you on his throne as king to rule for the Lord your God. Because of the love of your God for Israel and his desire to uphold them forever, he has made you king over them, to maintain justice and righteousness." She gave the king 120 talents of gold, a great quantity of spices and precious gems. Never again were such spices as those the Queen of Sheba gave King Solomon brought in. The king's ships, manned by Hiram's servants, brought gold from Ophir and also great quantities of almug and precious stones. The king used the almug to make supports for the temple of the Lord and for the royal palace, and to make harps and lyres for the musicians. No one has seen so much almug since that day, nor has it been seen to this day. King Solomon received 666 talents of gold, not including the revenues from merchants and traders, and from all the Arabian kings and the governors of the territories. King Solomon made 200 large shields of hammered gold. 600 shekels of hammered gold went into each shield. He also made 300 small shields of hammered gold, with 300 shekels of gold in each small shield. The king put them in the palace of the forest of Lebanon. Then the king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with pure gold. The throne had 6 steps, and its back had a round top. On both sides of the seat were armrests, with a lion standing beside each of them. 12 lions stood on the 6 steps, one on either end of each step. Nothing like it had ever been made for any other kingdom. All King Solomon's goblets were gold, and all the household articles in the palace of the forest of Lebanon were pure gold. Nothing was made of silver, because silver was considered of little value in Solomon's days. The king had a fleet of trading ships at sea along with the ships of Hiram. Once every 3 years it returned, carrying gold, silver and ivory, and apes and baboons. King Solomon was greater in riches and wisdom than all the other kings of the earth. All the kings of the earth sought an audience with Solomon to hear the wisdom God had put in his heart. Year after year, everyone who came brought a gift, articles of silver and gold, robes, weapons, spices, and horses and mules. Solomon had 4,000 stalls for chariots and 12,000 horses, which he kept in the chariot cities and also with him in Jerusalem. He ruled over all the kings from the Euphrates River to the land of the Philistines, as far as the border of Egypt. The kings brought tribute and served Solomon all the days of his life. The king made silver as common in Jerusalem as stones, and cedar as plentiful as sycamore fig trees in the foothills. Solomon's horses were imported from Egypt and from Kue. The royal merchants purchased them from Kue at a price. As for the other events of Solomon's reign, from beginning to end, see them written in the records of Nathan the prophet, in the prophecy of Ahijah the Shilonite, and in the visions of Iddo the seer concerning Jeroboam son of Nebat. Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel 40 years. Then he rested with his ancestors, and was buried in the city of David his father. And his son Rehoboam succeeded him as king. 2 Chronicles chapter 10, verses 1 to 24. Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel had gone there to make him king. When Jeroboam son of Nebat heard this, he was in Egypt, where he had fled from King Solomon. He returned from Egypt. So they sent for Jeroboam, and he and the whole assembly of Israel went to Rehoboam and said to him, "Your father put a heavy yoke on us, but now lighten the harsh labor and the heavy yoke he put on us, and we will serve you." Rehoboam answered, "Come back to me in 3 days." So the people went away. Then King Rehoboam consulted the elders who had served his father Solomon during his lifetime. "How would you advise me to answer these people?" he asked. They replied, "If today you will be a servant to these people and serve them and give them a favorable answer, they will always be your servants." But Rehoboam rejected the advice the elders gave him and consulted the young men who had grown up with him and were serving him. He asked them, "What is your advice? How should we answer these people who say to me, 'Lighten the yoke your father put on us'?" The young men who had grown up with him replied, "Tell these people who have said to you, 'Your father put a heavy yoke on us, but make it lighter on us.' Tell them, 'My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. My father laid on you a heavy yoke, I will make it even heavier. My father disciplined you with whips, I will discipline you with scorpions." 3 days later Jeroboam and all the people returned to Rehoboam, as the king had directed, for Rehoboam had gone to Jerusalem. He consulted the elders who had advised his father Solomon while he was still alive. "How would you advise me to answer these people?" he asked. He rejected the advice the elders gave him and consulted the young men. For he turned from the advice the elders gave him and consulted the young men. He answered the people harshly. Rejecting the advice of the elders, he followed the counsel of the young men and said, "My father laid on you a heavy yoke, I will make it even heavier. My father disciplined you with whips, I will discipline you with scorpions." When all Israel saw that the king refused to listen to them, they answered the king, "What share do we have in David? None, we have no inheritance in Jesse's son. To your own tents, O Israel. Look after your own house, O David." So all Israel went home to their tents. Yet as for the Israelites who were living in the towns of Judah, Rehoboam still ruled over them. When all the Israelites saw that the king refused to listen to them, they answered him, "What share do we have in David? None. We have no inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Look after your own house, O David." So the Israelites went home. As for all the Israelites in the towns of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. It was just as the Lord had said, which he announced to Jeroboam son of Nebat through Ahijah the Shilonite. Solomon's son Rehoboam established himself firmly in Jerusalem and continued as king. He was 41 years old when he became king, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city the Lord had chosen out of all the tribes of Israel in which to put his name. His mother's name was Naamah, she was an Ammonite. There was continual warfare between Rehoboam and Jeroboam throughout their reigns. 2 Chronicles chapter 11, verses 1 to 23. When Rehoboam arrived in Jerusalem, he mustered Judah and Benjamin, the whole house of Judah and Benjamin, to fight against Israel and restore the kingdom to Rehoboam son of Solomon. But this word of the Lord came to Shemaiah the man of God. "Say to Rehoboam son of Solomon king of Judah, and to all the Israelites in Judah and Benjamin, this is what the Lord says. Do not go up to fight against your fellow Israelites. Go home, every one of you, for this is my doing." So they obeyed the word of the Lord and turned back from marching against Jeroboam. Rehoboam lived in Jerusalem and built up towns for defense in Judah. He built up Bethlehem, Etam, Tekoa, Beit-Zur, Soko, Adullam, Gath, Maashah, Ziph, Adoraim, Lachish, Azekah, Zorah, Ajalon, and Hebron. These were fortified cities in Judah and Benjamin. He strengthened their defenses and put commanders in them, with supplies of food, olive oil, and wine. He put shields and spears in all the cities, and made them very strong. So Judah and Benjamin were his. The priests and Levites from all their districts throughout Israel sided with him. The Levites abandoned their pasturelands and their property, and came to Judah and Jerusalem, because Jeroboam and his sons had rejected them as priests of the Lord. He appointed his own priests for the high places, and for the goat and calf idols he had made. Those from every tribe of Israel whose hearts were set on seeking the Lord, the God of Israel, followed the Levites to Jerusalem to sacrifice to the Lord, the God of their ancestors. They strengthened the kingdom of Judah and supported Rehoboam son of Solomon for 3 years, walking in the ways of David and Solomon during those 3 years. Rehoboam married Mahalath, who was the daughter of David's son Jeremoth and of Abihail, the daughter of Eliab son of Jesse. She bore him sons, Jeush, Shemariah, and Ahaz. He married Maacah, daughter of Absalom, and she bore him Abijah, Attai, Ziza, and Shelemith. Rehoboam loved Maacah, daughter of Absalom, more than any of his other wives and concubines. In all, he had 18 wives and 60 concubines, and he became the father of 28 sons and 60 daughters. Rehoboam appointed Abijah son of Maacah to be chief prince among his brothers, for he thought he would be the next king. He acted wisely, dispersing some of his sons throughout the territories of Judah and Benjamin to all the fortified cities, and he gave them supplies and provision. He also found many wives for them. 2 Chronicles chapter 12, verses 1 to 16. After Rehoboam's position was established and he had become strong, he and his kingdom abandoned the law of the Lord. Because they had been unfaithful to the Lord, Shishak king of Egypt attacked Jerusalem in the 5th year of King Rehoboam. With 1,200 chariots and 60,000 horsemen and innumerable troops of Libyans, Sukkites, and Cushites, he captured the fortified cities of Judah and came as far as Jerusalem. When Shishak king of Egypt attacked Jerusalem, he carried off the treasures of the temple of the Lord and the treasures of the royal palace. He took everything, including the gold shields Solomon had made. King Rehoboam made bronze shields to replace them, and assigned these to the commanders of the guard on duty at the entrance to the royal palace. Whenever the king went to the Lord's temple, the guards bore the shields, and afterward they returned them to the guardroom. When the Lord saw their humility, the word of the Lord came to Shemaiah, "They have humbled themselves. I will not destroy them, but I will grant them some deliverance, and my wrath will not be poured out on Jerusalem through Shishak. However, I will make them subject to Shishak, so that they may learn the difference between serving me and serving the kingdoms of the lands." King Shishak of Egypt attacked Jerusalem and carried off the treasures of the temple of the Lord and the treasures of the king's palace. He took everything, including the gold shields Solomon had made. So King Rehoboam made bronze shields to replace them, and assigned these to the commanders of the guard on duty at the entrance to the royal palace. Whenever the king went to the Lord's temple, the guards bore the shields, and afterward they returned them to the guardroom. Because Rehoboam humbled himself, the Lord's wrath turned from him, and he did not destroy him completely. Indeed, there was some good in Judah. King Rehoboam established himself firmly in Jerusalem and continued as king. He was 41 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 17 years, the city the Lord had chosen out of all the tribes of Israel in which to put his name. His mother's name was Naamah. She was an Ammonite. He did evil because he had not set his heart on seeking the Lord. The acts of Rehoboam from first to last, are they not written in the records of Shemaiah the prophet, and of Iddo the seer concerning genealogies? There was continual war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam. Rehoboam rested with his ancestors, and was buried in the city of David. His son Abijah succeeded him as king.